I'm sure many of you are looking forward to continuing the journey we've taken thus far with free tracks from FEUERSCHWANZ. I know a lot of you have been hoping for this coverage for some time, given how many name recognitions in the comment sections I've gotten referencing them ever since I first engaged with D'Artagnan, right? And that was a great first introduction. I have all their albums on my phone as we speak. I love D'Artagnan. Classic German folk rock, if you're not familiar, but this is a bit of an elevation. It's more like German medieval style in appearance folk metal, but it is so much fun. It's very similar to D'Artagnan, just a little more aggressive in their foundation. But I figured I'd like them. I was a big fan of Ben in terms of, I forget his last name, but his vocals on D'Artagnan, that he's sort of the connective tissue between the two groups, and with FEUERSCHWANZ, and in learning maybe other names as well. Maybe out of order a bit, because I just recently consulted and published my videos, in fact, as I'm recording this, for The Dark Side of the Moon. That's a collaboration between Melissa Bonney of Ad Infinitum and her, I forget his name, but her real-life partner and the main percussionist of Amaranth, and Jenny Deal and Hans Platz from FEUERSCHWANZ. That's the collaborative project, and so from there I got an exposure point to both of those artists, and I'm learning more about the FEUERSCHWANZ group, I guess, as a whole. But I've had a great first introduction on free tracks thus far, and I hope some of you have too. Because it's been a fun experience, as all European music on this channel really is, and many of you know how much of a love affair has developed from that, from my first point of exposure. It really is such a dominant space in regards to music being alive and continually thriving. If you've never ventured down the European metal scene, of course you can with me. I consult it regularly on this channel. There's so many groups, and many more are coming, not just based on groups I've already worked on coverage for, but many of your recommendations, and I've gotten a wealth of names as a supply, and I've taken all on list regard. I'll make my way through, God willing, to perhaps every one of them. We'll see. But, music for me, very much a first love in my life, as I've said many times, and it's been a long-standing aspiration to bring it into a grander focus on this channel, and I have over the 2023 year so far, and it's only going to expand, and I can't wait to see the trajectory develop going forward. But with FEUERSCHWANZ, it's a treat to feature a talent like them. Especially, again, perhaps for those of you that this is going to be a first-time introduction. I do hope in some capacity that some of you approaching my coverage here, you come across one group, maybe it's a known, established talent and a favorite to you. But maybe you find a fresh name in passing, right? So maybe you come for another group, let's say, for example, consideration of FEUERSCHWANZ being the new name. You're like, who's this group? I've never heard of them, right? I hope in some way if I can manage this to forge paths for you. If you're somebody that's going artist shopping, you don't know where to look, I'm trying to, in some ways, provoke new destinations for you. And there's many in the European rock scene. Many. Including FEUERSCHWANZ. Great personality. I love German music, by the way. It's quickly growing on me. And though I studied Spanish in school, I'm picking up a lot of German, especially in pronunciations and some familiar words. It's really funny. I'm sure this track will be no different with... I did make sure I got the pronunciation right on this, because I try and be correct on everything I do. Kampfzwerg. So we're going to consult this track together. There's a music video, in fact, so there's a visual component. I'm going to go and pull that up, and maybe for some of you we can engage. Well, of course, we're all engaging with this track for the first time, if you happen to be a new listener of theirs. Some of you, I imagine, well, I know for certain, some of you are going to be familiarized listeners to FEUERSCHWANZ. You've probably been for a longer time than even I've engaged with them. It's been very recent that I started my journey down with this group. But for some of you, this will be a first introduction, I'm sure. We'll have a fun experience on that note together. Maybe some of you haven't heard this particular tune yet. I don't know. It could be a mixture of dynamics in the way we approach this. A Kampfzwerg, which translates to Battle Dwarf. Okay, I like the name. Let's see what they have to offer here with this piece. Again, 3 tracks in, I had a great time. And I've been looking forward to expand my library of familiarity with FEUERSCHWANZ specifically. So, music video incoming, and if you're somebody that's not familiarized with how I format my coverage on this channel, speaking in regards to music, I do try and accommodate listener taste to the best extent that I can. So if you'd like to read along with the narrative of the piece, I will have the lyrics provided for you both in the original German and a rough and perhaps possibly incorrect, but I'm trying my best because I studied Spanish in school, translation. Anywho, again, you can enjoy it in that respect, or you can just sit back and watch the song and the video, as we'll all be doing together. They've been quite fun. I'm sure Kampfzwerg will be no different. German's just such a fun language to speak. Strong O's, I love the presence it did. I love strings. Oh, man. The dominance here? Wonderful. God, good drive. And great supporting riffs on that. But those strings.
Leben fern vom Tageslicht, sind von der Gier nach Gold getrieben und mögen spitze Ohren nicht. Klein, kompakt, von gedrungener
rolled R's.
Und geschmieden Metall.
Beautiful.
Ins Vergleiche unser Manneskraft, trinken wieder den Gerstensaft.
Great vocal presence here.
Und wenn wir dann den Krieg besingen,
again, the integration between the strings and the riffs and the melding works perfectly.
Die Kehlen laut erklingen und fehlend Größe kompensieren. Zwerginnen sucht man bei uns vergeblich, auch sie tragen Werte, das ist bei uns erblich.
Wonderful vocal overlap and part of everybody in that line. Worked a lot. Very sufficient. It feels very much like I was saying, there is some crossover energy between D'Artagnan and FEUERSCHWANZ. This is much more like the metal rock variety, though. The strings are very D'Artagnan, especially in the last verse. But the energy to this again feels more like classic metal rock foundation. And of course, Hans is very talented. You know, I love being able to brag that I listen to German music. Again, as I've said, there's barely really no existent overlap between the groups I listen to and my social circle. I love the point of originality, but I'm like, I listen to German music. It's fun, right? Because I happen to obviously be familiarized now 4 entries in on just how thriving that space, how thriving it is. Europe, again, as I've said many times, generally is just such an advantageous environment of the rock and metal landscape, but there's just so much personality specifically in German music that I find so alluring. D'Artagnan and FEUERSCHWANZ is no different at all. Kampfzwerg, lot of fun. Very similar to D'Artagnan, I guess, as I was saying, specifically on the violin use. I don't remember the name of their strings guy on D'Artagnan, but so similar. And I get like it's a violin, right? It's the same type of instrument, but it just feels like it's like the harsher metal side, right? So it adds this unique dimension with FEUERSCHWANZ. And there's a lighthearted delivery. Their videos are always so much fun to watch. I mean, same with D'Artagnan, right? They're extremely appealing in regards to crowd dynamics. You feel engaged in it. It's not like a passing tune. You feel like you have to just soak in the experience, right? And this piece, Kampfzwerg, fun rhythm. I love the power riff bass, especially on Hans's part. His talents are exquisite. And again, if you've never introduced yourself to the Dark Side of the Moon, I just did very recently, go consult the 3 covers, but what's the original? The Gates of Time. his riffs on that are excellent. So I'm very familiarized again with where, and this is less aggressive to be fair than that one was. I mean, that was a forceful song on his part, but it's so good. I love The Gates of Time, as many of you do, I know, but but here, vibrant. I love the integration of that mixed with the strings overlap. The vocals, especially on part of everybody blending together, it's a very cohesive delivery. Again, everybody has sort of unique voice, even if, again, everything's spoken in German. It's a fun song. I love the energy. It's always a fun time with FEUERSCHWANZ. I love the metal drive, and I love, again, being able to say I listen to German music. It gives me such a weird point of entrance among my peers. I'm not saying like I'm trying to be intentionally boastful, like I'm going somewhere you all are not, but it's like I know where the talent is. I really do. And I've loved this journey I've taken into Europe, broadly speaking, and FEUERSCHWANZ is just another great addition. So it's fun to be able to be like, I recognize all these groups that are speaking in other languages that I feel like I'm starting to actually understand parts of what they're saying because I spend so much time with them. But, man, I love it. I love as well being able to just like feature, I've said this many times in the past, much of the music I, consult, or listen to because I'm an avid music listener, whenever I go out driving, which isn't that often, I will always have something on. Like, I have to listen to music in the car. It's just my thing. And I will oftentimes turn my music up probably a little louder than I should, admittedly. But I open the windows, not to be impolite, but because I'm like, hey, even in passing, if I can expose somebody, because you know the way phones work these days, someone can pull up like their Shazam app or something and be like, what's that track I'm hearing from that other car? I don't know. I've done this that often. So maybe sometimes I play FEUERSCHWANZ, right? And some, passing driver, I'll be like, well, granted, maybe it should be the passenger, like it shouldn't be the driver going to their phone, but the passenger hears it like, I don't know, what language were they speaking? Who's that group? I don't know who they are. Maybe I should go look them up. You plug any way you can, right? Or you hope. 2. And with FEUERSCHWANZ, I love showcasing, artists as talented as they are. And with the personality and the individuality to their craft, it's fun to be able to showcase talents like them that are so substantial, at least in my feelings on them. And perhaps, well, I know to many of yours as well, but perhaps for the new listeners out there, that maybe you're approaching FEUERSCHWANZ on a first-name basis, or just a first engagement. What are your thoughts on their music? I would love to hear your impression down below. If you wish to disclose your perspective, of course. Of course, going forward, I've got plenty, as I said, a lot of FEUERSCHWANZ coming. You all asked me, and I'm delivering. I couldn't tell you the total right now. I don't have the entire list pulled up, but I know it's pretty substantial. Like, I took a lot of their works in consideration on names. So, more FEUERSCHWANZ incoming. I don't know presently which track is next. I'll figure it out. And of course, we'll see more in time. But it's always a treat to showcase a group like FEUERSCHWANZ. I love the personality, again, like I said, of European music, and I find that so alive with FEUERSCHWANZ. It's always that fun experience, though. And I crave that with music, and I always get it with them. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.